somewhere there. It's very tiny Himalayan kingdom. And in the next slide, so that's the country, and we have a small flag on top right side. And I have roughly divided the country into three parts, where one part is occupied by Ngalon, that's the ruling group of people. On the right hand side is Sharchok, another big group of people. These two group of people follow Buddhism. And on the southern side, a fertile land where we, like people of Nepalese ethnic origin, live in there, and the land was fertile. And the population of the ruling class, that is Ngalon, was growing very fast, and it is Himalayan kingdom, and they needed more and more land. So they were planning to remove some part of the population so that they can get place to resettle their people from the north to the southern part of the country. So in the background, in the next slide, so the ruling class was Ngalon, and it was of a different ethnic group, and as I said, that it was planning to evict a good chunk of people from that country. In the beginning, the land was provided according to chain survey. Later on, in 1980s, the cadastral survey came, and this survey made lots of people landless, or the size of their land got reduced. And in 1985 and 1988, Citizenship Act and First General Census also rendered so many people non-nationals. And at the same time, the country was having a policy, one nation, one people policy. This means that whatever the ruling class was following, the religion, the culture, the language, the dress code, everybody had to follow. And that was too much. Also in the next slide, we have here, still today, there is no human rights in Bhutan. We do not have a cultural or religion right also. No freedom of expression, no opportunities in a higher positions for especially to the people of different ethnic groups. And in the next slide, this led disgruntled men among the people who were not satisfied with the rules of the country, and there was a peaceful demonstration in September 1990. So people from the southern part, people from ethnic Nepali origin, they peacefully demonstrated demanding the rights which were snatched by the government. Our language was gone. They removed the Nepali language from the school curriculum. They had us wear their dress. They had us follow their religion and culture. And because of that, the demonstration was put up. And right after the demonstration, the Royal Army of Bhutan, it came with a heavy hand and crushed the demonstrators, killed so many and imprisoned so many. And there were repeated coming raids by Royal Army, made deep into the villages, torching the houses, and rape, torture. All these things became rampant and was the order of the day. People got terrified, so they were started looking for options. They started fleeing the country. And there lies India between Bhutan and Nepal. We had to go into India. India did not give us refuge, and we had to go to Nepal. So in next slide I have here. So at that time, I was 20. My parents were there. One of my sisters, the youngest, was with us, and other 5 sisters were already married and gone to their husband's house. So we were only 4 in the family. I was 20, my sister was 14. We had 8 acres of land. a beautiful house, several cattle. We were happy. My dream of going to college and becoming a doctor shattered at that point of time when we had to flee. June 29th, 1992, we took a bold step towards unknown. We do not know where we were going. We came out of the country. I and my sister were excited because of this adventurous fleeing journey. We did not know much about what is going to happen, but as we see that we could go out of that country, so we were happy. But my parents cried all the way through the journey to Nepal, which took around 4 days on foot and on some commercial trucks. And finally we reached on July 2nd, 1992 to the refugee camp, which was set up by UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Next slide. So this is the eastern part of Nepal where the refugee camps were set up. There are 7 camps. Now only 3 or 4 are left because most of the refugees have already been resettled through third country resettlement. And I was living in that Goldab camp. The number shown in that picture is very old. So in the next slide, we have some of the pictures of the refugee camp. The huts were like that, but in the beginning, the huts were not like that. I'll tell you later. So in one of those pictures, you can see the fires, which especially our camp was burned down twice, the whole of the camp. We became super refugees. From refugees, we became super refugees. So next slide. After reaching the camp, we were provided some bamboo sticks and plastics. My father and I erected a small makeshift hut where we spent 18 years. Even I have the address for that, Sector B1, hut number 18 in Goldab refugee camp. That was our small home for 18 years. And in that southern plain of Nepal, in summer it was very, very hot, terribly hot. And under the plastic roof was terrible. And in the summer, it used to, even today, it rains very heavily and the roof was not strong enough to hold. So my family used to run with pots and pans all around the house to collect the dripping water from the roof so that the hut does not get flooded. And when it was very windy, my father and I used to cling on the roof so that the roof stays there. So life was quite terrible. So the repeated fires, all this tested our patience for very long. Once in the camp, we were provided food, drinking water. Schools were opened. Basic health units were also open. It appeared that life became normal from the freezing fear of persecution in Bhutan. We felt, oh, this is life now, it's better. But it wasn't. So eventually my sister got married and she went away. I also got married and have had 2 children in the camp. I continued my studies with breaks here and there because I had to look after my family. At the same time, I did not have money enough to pay for the tuition or buy books. So even though I taught in the refugee camp schools and even outside private schools, so collected some small amount of money and continued my studies up to master's level in sociology. So I taught in the refugee camp and outside schools for around 15 years. I even became assistant head teacher in the refugee camp, where there were 3,400 students and over 100 teachers. We were paid very minimum incentive for teaching in the refugee camp. Next slide, please. So we have pictures here. That's a general picture. The first one, the refugee camp. See the walls of the hut, the window, and two old ladies looking out. In the middle one, myself and my friend. It was at the time when my friends and my students were bidding me farewell for my bachelor's study. I went out of the camp for bachelor's study. In the next picture, you can see that the students were not always lucky because the school buildings were not there. They had to sit under the tree, and teacher used to have a blackboard, and they used to teach there. We didn't have sufficient books and materials also. And when it rained, all the students and teachers used to run back to their huts. It was a sight to see. Next, please. I have many pictures there. The first one is a grade 8 when I was studying in Bhutan. That's the dress. You can see it's quite unique dress there. We were forced to wear. And in that picture, I was studying in grade 8. My friend here is also there in the picture, which I cannot show you, it's small. And in the middle, can you recognize that thinner one is me in the refugee camp, in front of my hut. And the next one is our head teacher. And at that time, I was the assistant head teacher in the refugee camp. It was after the school, and we were just enjoying. And in the third one, I, as a teacher, and in grade 5, refugee student. In the bottom, the first one, my sister getting married. And the background scene is the refugee camp hut. Middle one, I getting married. And the last picture is of my family, my sister's family, I, and all of that. So in the camp, nothing was good. Food was scanty, quality was very poor, very bad. The water was very unsafe to drink. And the environment was so polluted and unsafe for good living. Even due to poor medical conditions in the camp, so many people died, even because of small illnesses. The hearts were dilapidated, and the life was languishing. Death and suicide were rampant all around the camp. And I used to think that maybe today or tomorrow is my turn to die. It was something like that, because I could see so many people dying around in the camp because of some, either because of depression or because of some sickness. And my experience, our experience in the refugee camp was very traumatic. And at that point of time, when we were not able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, US government came to our rescue. Next, please. I still have some pictures there. So the first picture is I with my children, born in the camp. The same two children in the middle picture, they are big now, they are here now. And we have one more added in America after coming here. My parents on the top, and me and my wife at the bottom. Next, please. So, US government finally came to our rescue and announced it's ready to take 60,000 refugees, over 60,000 refugees from there, because even after 16 rounds of bilateral talks between Bhutan and Nepal was reaching to no good result. So US decided to resettle us through third country resettlement program, and 7 other countries came to help US, like Norway, Denmark, UK, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. Those countries came to help. And I was first to grab the opportunity to come to US because I knew that this was my future. And finally, next slide please. Finally, in 2010, November, our destination was US, Colorado Springs. We flew and we came to US, and the resettlement agency was there who was taking care of us, and they took us to our